Putin is a pussy, or at the very least, not a genuine good actor. That is what we're seeing people say after Vladimir Putin has now turned down Zelensky's challenge for an in-person meeting in Turkey. It's something that's been widely seen as yet another example of Russia just not being serious about ending the war in Ukraine. Because, going back to the weekend, you had several leaders from the UK, France, Germany, and Poland meeting with Zelensky in Kyiv, and they demanded that Putin accept a 30-day unconditional ceasefire as a first step to full peace talks aimed at a long-lasting peace, and threatening to step up sanctions if he refused. Right, and at that time, they thought they had the White House's backing as well, but then Putin suggested that Russia and Ukraine resume direct talks that broke off in 2022 without a ceasefire or any other preconditions. And Trump seemingly was like, love daddy's idea, and he wrote on social media, Ukraine should agree to this immediately. With then Zelensky quickly responding and reiterating his call for a ceasefire, but also adding, I will be waiting for Putin in Turkey on Thursday. Personally, I hope that this time the Russians will not look for excuses. With this being seen as Zelensky calling Putin's bluff, and then yesterday when the EU also agreed on its 17th sanctions package against Russia since its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Kremlin announced the delegation that would be attending talks in Turkey. And surprise, surprise, Putin wasn't on the list. And actually, neither were his foreign minister or another top foreign policy aide who are at least seen as having some real weight in the Kremlin. And so you had Zelensky describing the Russian delegation as decorative, phony, and theatrical, and then one Ukrainian diplomatic official telling Politico, the Russian chair in Turkey is de facto empty because it makes little difference whether Mr. Nobody sent by Putin and his insignificant colleagues sit in their chairs or not. They are not the ones making decisions, and the person who does, Putin, is either afraid to come or does not take the US-led peace effort seriously. But with that, you had Zelensky saying he would still be sending a delegation to meet with Moscow's B team out of respect for Trump as well as the Turkish president who he met with earlier in the day. With him also emphasizing that while he himself wouldn't be attending without Putin there, he was still sending his A team. With the Ukrainian delegation being led by the country's defense minister and including several other high-ranking officials as well. Now with all that, you had the Russian side pushing back with their head negotiator in Istanbul saying that his delegation does have the power to make decisions. And then besides that, several top US officials are also in Turkey, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio and envoys Keith Kellogg and Steve Witkoff, with Rubio saying today that Trump is open to virtually any mechanism to reach a lasting end to the war in Ukraine. And then as far as Trump himself, you have him basically excusing Putin's absence and saying there's really no point to any of this until he meets with the Russian president personally, but with him claiming that nothing's going to happen until he and Putin get together and saying, no, I didn't anticipate Putin would go. I actually said, why would he go if I'm not going? Because I wasn't going to go. I wasn't planning to. I would go, but I wasn't planning to go. And I said, I don't think he's going to go if I don't go. And that turned out to be right. Felt like I was having a fucking stroke. And so I guess for now, we'll have to wait to see if we get a Trump-Putin meeting anytime soon and if that then actually leads to any real progress. Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this clip from the full Philip DeFranco show. And also, a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring our Clips channel. Turn your passion into profit over at squarespace.com/Phil or use the QR code. Because whether you're launching a business or a lucrative side hustle, your website is your digital business card. It's the only space where you control the story, no algorithms or distractions. And with Squarespace, it's so easy because they got a ton of stunning professional templates with drag and drop editing that makes site design incredibly simple, no coding required. So get started for free at squarespace.com/Phil or scan the QR code on screen and use code Phil for 10% off when ready to launch. Squarespace.com/Phil.